I'm so excited today to be joined by legendary photographer Mark Weiss. Mark, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know you have a very busy schedule.
Thank you so much. I can't believe all the attention I'm getting these days. I've been in this room for like 7 years, just trying to get all these photos in one book. Finally,
Well, let's talk about your book, Mark. It's called The Decade That Rocked, and it's basically photos from your career. You worked with Circus Magazine, you've done some independent stuff. This is from 80 to 90, correct?
yeah. It starts out in the early years when I first got my first camera. So there's a little bit of a story on how I kind of got to be where I am. So I'd say from 73 to 80 is about 10 pages of photos. So I have Led Zeppelin, Peter Frampton, Aerosmith. It just kind of shows you, it tells you the stories, the trials and tribulations, me getting arrested at a Kiss concert and, selling my pictures for $1 a piece. And then it leads into 1980, because at 1980 is when I became became Mark Weiss, the rock photographer. Judas Priest, Van Halen, Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, eventually Motley Crue, Ozzy. So all these bands that really became huge during that decade, I was riding right along with them.
So I assume that in the book, Mark, you have some stories that go along with the photos as well?
Yeah, it's a narrative book. This book was very meaningful to me. So a lot of most of the shoots are from experiences and from album covers and on the road with bands. So it's very narrative for me. There's a lot of photos in there that are just nice photos, but generally the photos in here are pretty much like I selected, you know, full on, and like choosing was just so hard. But I did narrow it down to 700 photos. I think it was down to 3,600 pages, and then the book was only supposed to be 280 pages, and the inside editions, the publisher said, we're going to give you 400 pages. So it's a 6 pound 1 ounce book.
Well, and it's an amazing book. I've had a chance to see a preview of it. If you can just hold it up, Mark, so we can see the cover. Can you tell me a little bit about that photo on the cover as well?
Well, that's Guns N' Roses, and I first shot them in '86, right before Appetite came out. And Axl and the band, they kind of had a photographer already, and I was kind of a new guy. They kind of didn't want to give me the chance to me to do a proper shoot, but they did. The publicists pushed for me. They knew I can get them in magazines, and then we developed a relationship from there on out. And then fast forward another year, they played in New York. They did the Rich show, and they did the CBGB's acoustic, and they did a shoot at my place. And then shortly after that, they opened up for Motley Crue in Florida, and I was there shooting Motley Crue. Happened to be there. Steven Adler, the drummer, said, "Hey, Weiss guy, how you doing?" And he goes, "I said, good, man." He goes, "I'm shooting Motley, but you think we can do a quick shot with the band, before or after the show?" And he's like, "Let me ask the band." And he pulled it together, wrangled them, and I come back, and I'm like, "Are you guys ready?" And because Axl was in a towel, and cowboy boots, and they were just hanging. But that's what it was like. These grab 5 minute photo shoots before or after. I mean, I got so many of them. A lot of my photo shoots are 22-hour shoots, like the Stay Hungry album cover with Twisted Sister.
Right. Well, and I know I saw a video with Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, and he was doing an unboxing of your book that you sent him. And he said that basically you're kind of responsible for getting him hooked up with Skid Row.
Yeah, I shot him in a band called Madam X. I shot the band Madam X before Sebastian was in the band, and then they contacted me. They said, "We have a new singer. We want you to come in and take some pictures." I met them, got a good relationship going, and then a few months later, I was getting married, and I told my secretary to invite that band. They're probably not going to come, but just invite them. And they got in a car, a broken down car, and they stayed a few days. We got to know each other. We hung out at the Molly Pitcher in Red Bank. And then at the end of the night, Sebastian went up and jammed with Kevin DuBrow from Quiet Riot and Zach Wilde, who's just got into Ozzy Osbourne's band, who I was responsible for introducing him to as well. So it was really like, it was like it was an amazing time at the end of the concert, at the end of the wedding, to have these two young guys, soon to become like superstars.
Well, and I assume, Mark, that you have stayed friends with these people and kind of seen the evolution of the bands and of their music over the years. How are things different now compared to when, obviously the 80s was all about excess and things have kind of are a little bit more politically correct now? Are you still, really heavily involved in shooting some of the new bands as well? Or are you kind of sticking with some of the older ones that you have relationships with?
Well, when I first shoot a band, it's like I'm in it for life with them. Whether they play, clubs, they get into arenas, stadiums, and they go down to clubs again. It's like, whenever I always look forward to a new shoot because it's like 4 or 5 new friends plus their entourage, their managers. So, I have so many friends from the '80s, and then just to watch them, start in the clubs, and they go into the theaters and arenas. And then, in the '90s, things got a little rough for them, but I stuck with them when they needed to shoot. I wouldn't charge them as much. And then things kind of turned around, and like things do turn around. So, I was always there for them, and, they were there for me. It's kind of like it works hand in hand.
Well, and I see in the book too, you have some of the album covers that you've shot, Mark. Is there a way for you to choose one that really means a lot to you, or are they all kind of like your children? They're just, it's something where you can't really choose?
Well, they're all my children, but there's always a favorite, And it has to be the Dee Snider Stay Hungry because it was my first album cover, and these guys gave me a chance. I didn't do album covers before that. I did covers for magazines of Ozzy, Ritchie Blackmore, and, Pat Benatar, but never a conceptual album cover. And for me as a photographer, being a kid picking up that 12-inch, reading the liner notes, who did the photographs, that was always a thrill. And I always thought back then, like, what a thrill it would be for, have that picture on an album cover and then just to last for decades. Because magazines, they only last for a month, and after a month they go off the stands and people forget about them. Album covers, they just stay around, and look where we are today. You go on the radio stations, Sirius, or online at the websites, and that one image that depict those songs that the band chose for that album at a specific time ends up being my photo in a lot of the cases, like Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, Dokken, Cinderella, Anthrax, a lot of bands that sold millions of records that had made careers out of them. So I was, album covers, and that Stay Hungry one definitely did it because it opened up the doors. And me and Dee went to the PMRC hearings together. I art directed the next one, Come Out and Play. So that one was a game changer for me.
Well, Mark, congratulations on this book. It's fabulous. I've actually waiting for my copy to arrive. I've ordered it so I can relive my youth, I guess, too. So congratulations. And if anybody wants to order this, what's the best way to do it?
Well, you can go to, I have a site called thedecadethatrocked.com, and I have little bundles. You can get photos, T-shirts. I can personalize one, but you can go to Amazon. And, it's a little bit less, but you can go to Amazon and do that. I have postcards and things. So, thedecadethatrocked.com, and I also have interviews and videos of people talking about me and the time. So it's kind of a feel-good site. It's fun.
All right, Mark. Well, thanks so much again for chatting with us today. Again, an amazing book, The Decade That Rocked, and we are really looking forward to getting our copy here so we can have a look at some of these. And like I said, I'm sure it's a good memory for everybody who grew up in that time watching these bands. And like you said, when cover art meant so much too, and photos, it's just an amazing thing to see all of your work. So thank you once again for speaking with us today.
Thank you, and good luck to all you budding photographers out there. Don't give up. If you have the passion to be a photographer, be it. Don't worry about the money.
All right. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you.